Good morning and welcome to Power Up. I'm your host, Dr. Marcy Bryant, and I'm really excited about the show that we have today. This is the place where you learn it, you live it, and you pass it on. I'm excited about today's guest because we want you out there in TV land to stop sitting on the couch, and we want you to pursue your dreams. This is also the show where extraordinary things are being accomplished by ordinary people. And we want to thank you for taking some time to sit with us on today. Our guest in the studio today is Dr. JALAAL HAYES, and this young man is very impressive. And I hope after we have a talk with him that you'll feel the exact same way I do. But before we get started with his interview, I would like to say this to you. Those of you who are wondering, where do I go from here? Maybe your life looks like it's drab. Maybe it looks like nothing is happening. Maybe you've just been recently disappointed about something. I want to let you know that all is not lost because God has gifted you. God has instilled in you at least one talent. And if you use that talent to the best of your ability, you will go a long way in this world, not only helping yourself, but you will help a lot of others along the way. So with that, we are going to bring our guest on set, Dr. JALAAL HAYES, and we welcome you to the show, and we are going to talk about his Elite Universal Network. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Before we start off the show, I would like to present you with a lovely gift. Is that all right?
Oh my, I love gifts, so certainly you can present me with a gift. And he noticed he used the word lovely, a lovely gift.
So here is a copy of my latest book, Growing Up Great, and I'd like to present this gift to you.
Growing Up Great. Now, didn't I tell you, we haven't even gotten started with this interview yet, and I have a feeling that it is nowhere but up, up, up. Wow, from here. Growing Up Great. Mm-hmm. Now, that simply means to me that you had an excellent as well as challenging and great childhood.
Everything you just said is absolutely and phenomenally correct.
Absolutely. Now, Growing Up Great, before we talk about the Elite University Network, I want to talk about who, if anyone, inspired you to write this book or helped you write this book.
Well, first off, I want to say, yes, there have been many people that helped me to inspire write this book, but the person that closely helped me inspire in writing this book were my parents, specifically my father. You see, the story, there's a lot of stories behind this book. The first story is that when I just I was about to graduate Lincoln University, and I didn't know what to do. And one of my mentors directed me to the great Delaware State University, which is the only HBCU in Delaware. So going to Delaware State University in Dover, I met another one of my mentors who I just preceded him. And after we had the great meeting, I went and saw me and my father sat down at home and stated, you should write a book about your experiences. And I wasn't sure at the time because I didn't have real good writing skills, and also my language was not so well. So as a result, he helped me write the first 8 chapters, put it on a cheesesteak bag, and said, well, here were the first 8 chapters.
Cheesesteak bag? I never heard that expression before.
Well, in Philadelphia, a lot of people call it steak and cheese around the world. In Philly, we call it cheesesteak. That is one of our known cuisines. And after eating that from West Philadelphia, he took out the same cheesesteak bag that we ate and wrote the first 8 chapters of this book. And he said, well, I just wrote the book. Let's get you started.
That was an awful long cheesesteak bag.
Well, he made it short, but okay. he helped me prompt the whole.
He prompted, okay.
He prompted the book for me, allowed me to write it and come up with the title as well, Growing Up Great, with the acronym of GREAT.
Yes, a roadmap to giving, that's the G.
Yes.
Receiving, oh wow. Expecting,
you got it.
Achieving, and teaching.
Yes.
I cannot wait to tackle this book. All right, Growing Up Great by Dr. JALAAL A. HAYES, PhD. Now, I understand that you have traveled on some territory that is worth mentioning. That means you are the first PhD, youngest PhD to what? Finish that for me.
I am the youngest PhD ever in Delaware State's 120, let me get it right, 127th history.
127-year history. He is the youngest PhD graduate from Delaware
State
University. Isn't that amazing? I told you we're having a great interview here. I want now to talk about the Elite Universal Network. Since I've got my own personal gift here, now we can talk about some other things. Now, Elite is spelled ELYTE, Universal Network. Tell me about that network and tell me why it's spelled with a Y instead of an I.
Well, the reason why, first off, let me start off. Elite Universal Network is a STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics content-based entity that was founded at Delaware State University in 2014. Mm-hmm. And the whole premise of that is just simply making STEAM simple and accessible. Now, the reason why Elite is spelled ELYTE instead of ELITE is because when I had the vision of starting this company back in 2013, I realized that there were not a lot of people in science and mathematics, engineering, or technology that looked like me. And I noticed that when I went to one of the conferences overseas and seeing that, I was inspired to try to actually, once I finished my degree, not to keep moving forward in research or teaching, but actually going back to my community and giving back in any way, shape, or possible. So with that being said, that's where Elite Universal Network was born.
And you were overseas where?
I was over in Italy.
Italy?
Yes.
Tell me what you actually did in Italy that cemented the Elite Universal Network.
Well, over in Italy, I was blessed by my mentor to actually go and give a speech or a talk on one of the systems that we had, or one of the chemical compounds that we were working on at the time.
Systems. Now, Elite is a system, chemical?
Well, that's the research. So in graduate school, I had to write a dissertation. In order to write a dissertation or this big book, I had to come up with something that was novel or original in terms of idea to the field.
Okay.
In order to come up with that, I had to design one of the research fields that he had in the scientific community. And one of those fields was hydrogen storage.
Okay, hydrogen storage. Now, that's the science.
That's the science. That's all the science.
Okay, that's all the science.
And that science, that research was so well that not only we were able to write an article on it as well as get a U.S. patent on it, we were able to talk about it over in Italy. So that allowed me to go to Italy.
Did you have an interpreter, or were you speaking Italian?
Actually, it's very interesting because I thought the same thing. And what my advisor told me was that all the conferences were spoken in English. So it made it easier for everybody at the conference, whether they were from Denmark, whether they were from Nigeria, whether they're from Asian countries, or even the United States. Everybody at the conference had to speak the universal language there, which was English.
Wow, that's great. That made it a whole lot easier, didn't it? Especially
Very.
Since you were speaking on, for some people, a very complicated subject. Now, what was your biggest inspiration? What was it about science and math? What inspired you to travel down this path?
Well, what inspired me was a 8th grade project that I written about. Mm-hmm. My teacher at the time, my science teacher, was stating that my science teacher at the time said that she wanted everybody to write about a African American scientist, but an African American scientist that hasn't been written about yet. And that was a interesting task for me because my go-to, like everybody went to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., my go-to was George Washington Carver, which I love to this day as a scientist and as an agricultural scientist specifically. So I did my research, and I stumbled upon this guy named Dr. Jesse Ernest Wilkins Jr. Now, what I noticed that was very interesting about this fellow was that he was born in Chicago, just like myself. His mother and father were educators in a sense. His mom specifically was a K-12 educator, and he graduated high school at the age of 13.
Wow.
And he got his doctorate in mathematics from the University of Chicago at age 19. Some books may say 20. So 19 and 20. So looking at that story, I was motivated to say, well, I wish I had a journey just like that. And behold, 2 years later, God blessed me with the journey to actually finish my education at high school at age 15 with the assistance of my family as well as my mentor. That is still my mentor today.
Wow.
Yes.
That's right. So the dream was birthed inside after you did this research paper, and you wanted the same thing for yourself. So it
Yes.
started with a desire within you wanting to go in that path. And you had the support of your family.
I had the strongest support of my family. I love my family dearly because of it.
Oh, isn't that absolutely wonderful? I hear that family is just as important as mentors, you all. So if you're
Yes.
listening, you know, your family is not there to deter you or to stop you or to hold you back, but families can be instrumental in helping you go forward, correct?
Absolutely correct.
Absolutely. Okay. Now, how does the Elite Universal Network help communities? You know, you brought about this network when you can tell us how many people are involved and so on. But what is it designed to do? How is it going to help those who are listening today?
Well, Elite Universal Network is designed to be the translator for science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. What I mean by translator? Well, at first, I wanted it to be a tutoring company. I tutored since I was 9 years old in North Philadelphia. And after my 15-year tenure of tutoring, I said, we need to do something different. Everybody else in the STEM industry is tutoring or doing some type of engagement, but I wanted to actually serve as the STEM translator, basically meaning taking the language of science and mathematics and making it simpler as well as acceptable to underrepresented groups. So when I got my first job in South Philadelphia, I was blessed to actually not only take that mission and try to apply it, but actually implement it each and every day with my students. And taking that and using that mission to try to actually implement it, I was able to not only get better at my mission, but also to do it in various communities. So the communities I touched thus far were Philadelphia communities, both North Philadelphia and South Philadelphia, Delaware, from Wilmington, Newcastle, as well as Dover, and also Baltimore, Maryland as well.
So this network helps to explain, if I'm understanding it correctly, or make science and mathematics easier or more comprehensible for
Yes.
individuals that find it difficult.
Yes.
Now, where were you when I was growing up? Oh, my goodness gracious. Okay. I mean, I was very good in, regular math, but when it came to getting beyond algebra and trigonometry and those things, when you're dealing with half numbers and letters and all that sort of thing, I found myself, just speaking for me, going back to the old-fashioned way of figuring out the math problem so that I could get the grade and pass the course. But trying to use it with letters and fractions and all that sort of thing, it just went right over my head.
Well, that's what Well, that's where I saw the problem with a lot of students that I was encountering was that once they got beyond counting and once they got beyond, when they hit the algebra, when they start seeing the letters, it wasn't more, and also in science as well, when they started getting from words such as matter and energy and they start hitting more complex words.
Yes.
That's where the problem lies, and that's where you see not a lot of underrepresented groups in STEM.
And I know why it lies there, because see, something happens up here.
Yes.
The brain somehow says, I do not compute. It's not working. Can you explain this better?
Exactly.
And that's where you come in.
And that's where I come in, because although as a country we produce, we want to push STEM so hard, the barrier in having African Americans, Latino Americans, even some Asian Americans, and getting to the goal that we're trying to reach is the language. You see, a lot of individuals don't look at STEM as a language. They look at it as a subject.
Okay.
And what I noticed in college, some of my friends, they say they want to be doctors. Everybody want to be a medical doctor. Everybody want to be in some form of science and mathematics field. And the reason why they transfer over to a social science, which is either history, sociology, maybe psychology, and even mass communications, is because of the language barrier. They don't understand the language.
Okay.
It's not more, is more of, I really saw it as a literacy component. So, for example, let's say somebody want to go to Spain. But in order to understand or interact with people in Spain, you have to know Spanish.
All right.
And in order to know Spanish, you have to actually see what's the translation between English and Spanish in order to be proficient in Spanish, so that when you go to these Spanish-speaking countries, you'll be able to what? Communicate, yes. That's the same area in science and mathematics. A lot of people want to be doctors. A lot of people want to be engineers. A lot of people want to be mathematicians. However, they have to also understand the language that's going in those fields.
Yes, and that's
where I saw that that was the barrier. It's not that they don't want to do it, but is they don't understand the language on how to do it.
Yes, and once you get the understanding, then everything else kind of falls into place.
It falls into place.
And you can actually accomplish greater things.
Exactly. And that's where Elite Universal Network comes into play. And we do that through creating custom-made study guides as well as innovative curriculums to actually help that barrier, help translate it.
Custom-made study guides. So you actually create these study guides.
We create the study guides from scratch.
And where are these study guides found? Are people able to buy them online? Are they able to go into bookstores and get them? Do they come directly to you? How do they get these guides?
Well, right now, they can come directly to me, and they can contact me on my website at ELYTE, the letter U, network.com, and they can contact me there. And all they have to do is tell me their name, what grade they're in, and what's their learning style. And the reason why I need to know the learning style, that's where the custom-made part comes into play.
Now, give me an example of learning styles.
Well, there's three main types of learning styles. You have tactile or kinesthetic learning, where people have to be involved or have to touch things in order to learn. You have audio. Some people are very good at listening to things. And in addition to that, you have the visual, whereas people have to see videos or even pictures in order to fully comprehend on what's going on.
You know what? That is absolutely amazing. And I know that somebody listening to this program needs to hear that repeated one more time. Those three different styles of learning are what?
They are tactile or kinesthetic, which is hands-on.
Hands-on.
Then you have audio, which is you learn by listening.
Okay.
Musicians are very well good at this. They learn by listening or play by ear. And you have visual, whereas they have to look at either a video or they have to look at a picture in order to fully understand what is being told or describe to them.
Wow. Is there anyone that falls in the category of needing all three?
Of course. And that's where me and my partners are working at now. That's where video games come into play.
Okay.
Because video games is very interesting. If we can put education and entertainment, also a new coin term or a recent coin term, edutainment, they'll be able to get the kinesthetic playing the remote control that's touching hands-on.
Yes.
They able to hear the sound effects
Okay.
or the people that's talking,
Okay.
and they also able to see what's going on.
That's right. And then everything happens right up here in the brain. And then when the mode of understanding is there and clarity is there, then that means they can go ahead and accomplish those tasks requiring scientific methods and or mathematical methods. Great. It is important for others to know about science and math. That's a given. Living in this world, we need to interact with it in some way, shape, or form.
Yes.
But explain why math and science are so important to us in this day and age.
Math and science is very and extremely important in this day and age because we're moving from the information age and transitioning a little bit more to the digital age. Okay. Now, when we're talking about digital, that means everything or almost everything, majority will have a STEM background in some way, shape, or form.
Now, when you say STEM, exactly what is that?
I'm talking about
mean?
Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
Got you.
The reason why I keep saying science and mathematics because the technology and the engineers are the application of those two.
Got you.
So
Thank you.
what my company does, we focus on the foundation to understand the foundation of the T and the E. See, a lot of people, well, I won't say a lot of people, what I observe is that majority focus on the technology and the engineering.
Okay.
But the reason why I see some students get confused when they approach these moving forward is because they don't understand the foundation, which is the S and the M.
Got you. Very good. Now, you are such an interesting subject. I've got so many more questions, and I definitely don't have time to ask them all. But if you're just joining us, Dr. JALAAL Hayes has been talking to us about math and science and the STEM. And I mean, he has cleared up some things for me that have been problems for years. And now I know if he had been back there in my era, that who knows, maybe I would have been somewhere in the science or mathematical field. But anyway, I want to know now, what advice would you give a young person today? I mean, you have got so many accolades and so many very good energies, and what are the accomplishments? That's the word. You've made so many accomplishments at your young age. What would you say to encourage someone that or to help them understand that they can accomplish great things too?
Well, it's funny that you asked that because I just got finished completing a book, Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice by Dr. Dennis Kimbrough. And one of the things that he stated is, I would say 3 Ps. First, you got to have a purpose.
Yes.
You got to have a purpose. You got to know why you're here and what you're supposed to be doing here.
Yes.
Next, you got to have a definite plan.
Definite plan, purpose and plan.
So that you know that, okay, how I'm going to get to my purpose. Or now I know my purpose, how I'm going to show the world that I can achieve it.
Yes.
And then last but not least, to tie it all together, you have to persist. Day in and day out. You must be able to have a routine, stick to that routine, be consistent, and be persistent. Because one of the quotes that I heard from a great scholar is that if you persist, you'll be able to obtain it. But if you want to be consistent, you'll be able to keep it.
Wow. Persist, you'll be able to obtain it. Consistency, you'll be able to keep it. So you want them to know, first of all, what the plan is, what their purpose is.
Yes.
Then they're going to go ahead and map out a plan to get there.
Yes.
Do you find mentors are very necessary to help that?
They are very, very necessary. And here's why. Because mentors actually allow you to get there quicker.
Yes, they do,
and
don't they?
yes, they do. That's why I'm so grateful for my mentor.
Mm-hmm.
And also I would say get a mentor that's probably more older than you, someone in another generation.
I agree.
Because if you do not, it's going to be blind leading the blind.
And
That's just from
definitely
my experience.
blind leading the blind, what happens to them? They both fall in the ditch. And Lord knows there's a lot out here for everyone, and no one needs to fall anywhere. And certainly no one needs to go through life frustrated because they can't pursue their own purpose and their own path. There are so many others like yourself that are out there doing that. And definitely, I don't want to close this interview without giving you an opportunity to let others know what your company is doing now, what's your most recent project, and again, make sure you tell them how they can find you personally.
Sure. So what the company's doing now is that we just finished releasing a book, and what we're doing now is creating custom study guides for.
So you're already in high schools now.
We're getting
areas?
getting into high schools now.
Okay, what areas? Is it basically Delaware, Pennsylvania?
Mostly Delaware.
Mostly Delaware. Okay.
Yeah, hopefully Pennsylvania. I know
Okay.
Pennsylvania education is a little more strict, but Delaware, specifically summer camps and starting off small, summer camps and things of that nature, and nonprofits. And yeah, that's basically it. That's what we're doing now, study guides and designing curriculums. And you can find me at ELYTE, UNetwork.com. Again, that is ELYTE, UNetwork.com. No www in the front.
Very good. Well, this has certainly been an interesting interview. I've certainly learned a lot about